Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. We're so glad that you're here, whether you're watching this podcast live on Wednesday night at 7 p.m., or if you're watching it later, or if you're listening to it on one of the many streaming channels that we broadcast as a podcast. We're really glad that you're in our audience. We appreciate you.
We most certainly do. Want to remind everybody about Episode Rewind this coming Saturday would be November 25th. That'll be none other than Joe Conjo.
Oh, yay.
And then next Wednesday, November 29th, New York Times bestselling author Patricia Crisafulli will be on. And that should be an interesting show.
Yep.
Remind everybody about the other two podcasts that we talk about, and that would be the Voice of Indie podcast with Beam and Gary. And that's on Blog Talk Radio. Instructions on how to get over to that are right at the end of our show. If you stay tuned past our sign off, they'll tell you how to get there. Book World podcast on YouTube every Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Central Time in the U.S. It's at CJ Peterson on YouTube. Easy to find, and a lot of good authors on there.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Definitely. I do want to mention that the last Thursday of the month, we also have our paranormal podcast is on.
And that should be the 30th of November.
And what's the title?
Haunted Campfire Tales. And that's Haunted Campfire Tales podcast. And that would be TampaBaySpirits1.com. That's the number 1.com. You can go there if you wanted to catch up on any old episodes.
Yeah.
And
we've got them pinned there. Yep.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else you want to chit chat about? Okay.
We're good.
Why don't we head on in to introduce our guest then?
Remember, this is pre-recorded.
Okay. Hang on just a second here, folks. There you are. Thought maybe you were staying backstage on purpose. No, I was just messing with you. Hello.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
We're doing really well, thank you.
Doing good.
We're glad that you're here.
Thank you so much. It's a real honor to be with you.
Well, it's an honor to have you as a guest. Would you like to tell us how you decided to do what you do and when you decided to start writing books about what you do?
Okay, well, I don't know that it was a conscious decision for sure. For me, I think really, we can talk about spiritual awakening, and I look back at my past, my life. I think probably the biggest awareness was when my father passed away. I've always been sensitive. I was raised Catholic in Canada. I wasn't raised in an environment where we openly discussed psychic abilities or premonition or intuition. So it was one of those things that I was always told that I was too sensitive and that what I was seeing or perceiving wasn't true. So I was invalidated with my abilities for so many years. Then when my dad died, it triggered something within me and wondering what happens when we die. My dad, well, I grew up in a dysfunctional alcoholic family, which was kind of the norm back then. And I didn't really think it was dysfunctional, but it was a struggle. Did I struggle with depression? Yes. Was I think I carried a lot of grief within me and in my heart and trauma. So I was kind of worried about where my dad might go. I mean, I don't know that it's polite in mixed company or any company to ask or say, gee, where do you think that guy is going? It's like the thought might go through our head, but we never express it. But I did. But on the way home, so I was living in San Diego at the time. I went home to Canada in Edmonton after the funeral. On my way back at the airport, I picked up the book by Raymond Moody, Many Lives, Many Masters. And it gave me hope. And that's when my curiosity, it's almost like when Dad left the physical world, it gave me freedom to start being more curious and openly looking for answers for myself. Going back to San Diego, that's when I really started seeking, attending different seminars and spiritual workshops and doing yoga and training. The whole time I got real sick. I was so stressed out. I happened to be going through divorce. My dad dies, and everything just sort of came to a screeching halt. And the doctor told me to go home and prepare my affairs. And I shortly after got fired. So I had no job. I'm now divorced. My dad's not here. There's no support system for me. And that's when I really started to dig deeper, especially when the doctors told me there was no cure. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and they told me there's no cure. So I had to start seeking alternative help, alternative acupuncture and chiropractic. And that's when I really started meditating and doing things that could assist me in understanding, how come I was feeling so bad and there was no fix. Because I was tired of going to talk therapy. I just seemed like I would talk and talk and talk, and you go around in circles. I started feeling a lot better. It probably took about 7 years. And on that path, I started studying the ancient mystery schools. And that led me to want to take a spiritual journey, and where I went to Egypt. So there I am on this magical, mystical, amazing, beyond imagination, especially for, back in the 90s, seeing things that, granite statues smile at me, or hearing angelic songs or hymns in the temples that nobody else was hearing. My abilities just started opening up in ways that I didn't quite articulate or even understand. And then I extended my trip in Egypt, and I had a near-death experience outside the Valley of the Kings, the grand graveyard for all the ancient kings and queens. And besides feeling like I stepped into the cantina scene in Star Wars, where it opened my psychic abilities and abilities to see beings, entities, through dimensions, and know things that I couldn't have possibly known. It was on turbo. And I had to travel back that day. So I made my way back, many flights, about a 24-hour flight. And when I got back to the States, landed in JFK, my psychic abilities were still blown wide open. And that's when the journey began of learning what happened to me, being able to turn down my psychic abilities in my case so that I could function.
Right.
That's when the path started. That was 23 years ago. That led me to starting to teach other people what I learned, learning that I had tapped into the quantum field, and that I did it for me. I didn't want to do this work for the world. I was a successful sales executive. I was a 6-figure income earner back in '98. I didn't give a rat's about doing psychic work. I just wanted to get my life back. And that's when I started to, I was forced to learn how to manage my energy. I went to probably a dozen different psychics trying to find out what happened to me. Where did I go? And they all told me something different when I left the body. So I was like, okay, that kind of ticks me off. Why can't somebody give me my answer? It was like I heard this voice say, it's inside you. You've got to find the answer. It's not somebody else telling you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's interesting because our audience will know that a lot of your experience is very similar to mine. Catholic girl, started seeing things at 7 years old,
Yep.
was told that what I was seeing wasn't real.
Mhm.
No such thing as ghosts. I had a near-death experience in the hospital where I actually was dead for a few minutes, and then they resuscitated me. And that was about 50 years ago. I know a lot of people have had the choice of whether to come back or to stay. And our kids always tell me if I had had my choice, they wouldn't be here because I would have stayed.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah.
I would have stayed if I had the choice. So it's interesting that some people get a choice and some people are told, yeah, you're not done. You need to go back.
Well, maybe it's a matter of being done, just like you said.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was literally told. You're not done. You need to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they meant it in a half-baked way. I think they meant more to do.
Well, I was pissed. I was really
Because
pissed
of you.
that
I hadn't met you yet.
Oh, see, none of that would have happened.
Right.
Oh gosh, it's funny,
Yeah,
but
I was angry.
interesting.
I was angry that I came back for quite a while.
Were you?
And nobody talks about this, right? There wasn't a circle. There wasn't the internet. There was no community to help you out,
Yeah, for me, it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Believe me, I didn't understand anything that happened to me until I saw it on the Oprah Winfrey show like 20 years after that. And then I was like, oh, that's what I had happen. Huh.
Yeah, and for me too. I was trying to validate that really happened for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't dare go see a psychologist. I think, well, they're going to lock me up for sure and throw away the key. She's a nutcase. My own family didn't believe it, and it completely changed my personality.
Yeah. I told the doctor actually, and he said that it was just deprivation of oxygen in my brain because I had died. And then when I started to wake up, it was all the morphine they were giving me because I was in a lot of pain from what had caused my death. And, so I believed him, like I said, for a long time until I heard people talking about it on the Oprah Winfrey show years and years later. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's too similar to what I experienced for it not to be the same thing. So interesting, fascinating, isn't it?
You took the word right out of my mouth. I find it fascinating that so many people, we never met before. How did I know? I couldn't drum up this story just to be like you or to be liked or validated,
Right. It's
I grappled with it with myself. I didn't share it for so many years, and very discreetly who I shared it with, because people would mock me and ridicule me. It was humiliating.
Yeah, I know. Well, and we've also had other things happen which people tend to mock. So it's just like
when aliens show up, or your dead grandmother,
or your dead grandmother, or all of the above. Yeah.
So what made you decide to write a book?
Your first book.
Well, so what happened was, in my experience of connecting with the quantum field and recognizing, there was 5 things that I learned. And it didn't all come at once for me. It was sort of a gradual rollout. It wasn't until I thought I needed to write about it. I didn't exactly know how to go about this. I went to the book expo in Los Angeles in 1999, it might have been. And thinking I'll meet an agent or a publisher and they'll tell me what to do. I was very naive. Boy, have I learned a lot about that whole industry, right? Yeah. And so that's a whole thing. And I remember seeing Louise Hayes there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was there talking to people in one of the booths.
She has there's a publishing house that she's.
Yeah, Hay House.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my impression was not favorable. I'll just leave it there, okay? And
of the publishing house?
No, of her.
Oh, of
her engagement and her dismissing me. And I didn't speak to her directly, but I was speaking to somebody and she interrupted. She dismissed me, basically. Yeah. And then Carolyn Meese was there. She's another famous author. She was a journalist, I think, at the time. And so anyway, I was getting turned off. I was like, man, this is not a good vibe here. And people are being insensitive and mean, just nasty. And so anyway, I had that perception. But you know what? Those expos, if you like books, they're all giving away these books. I didn't even know some of the genres are in. I had like 2 or 3 linen, back those little tote bags loaded down with these big, heavy hardcover books. And so, oh my God, by the end of the day, I was feeling like a pack animal. I was so broken down and sore. And I'm thinking, oh man, I need a massage. So I stayed the night. I was living in San Diego. I stayed the night in LA and I got a hotel room and I found an Asian massage place. So it was like a acupuncture massage type of location. So I had this little Asian guy walking on my back. And that's when I had a spontaneous out-of-body experience. And that jolted me back to the near-death experience where I, for a whole year, had been asking, where did I go? Where did I go? What did I do? And that's when it literally all trickled in and showed me, I stepped into the quantum field of love and showed me, I stepped into the field, the fabric of all creation is what my guide said, where I was. And they told me that I could have a tour of the all, but I couldn't stay. And so that was my message, you can't stay. And so as I was feeling in this warmth, the best way I can describe it is I felt like I was in this kaleidoscope of patterns and colors that was morphing and changing. And I was immersed in all of it so that I had the sense that I was part of the all. I lost that sense of myself and merged with it, everything. And it explained that love was the fabric of all creation. And that once I was feeling this, I felt like I was back in the womb of a mother where, you're so safe and protected and, you're so oblivious to everything. And so then I was thrown out. And I was in this hall of infinite doors. And so I was told by my guide that I could go to any room or any door, but I couldn't stay. So as I progressed, I crossed the hallway and immersed into this vibration. It was an opaque green vibration. And I said, well, where am I now? And they said, and that's when I had a life review. And this life review showed me like a timeline, all the places where I had emotional energy that had been stuck in my lifeline. And that was actually the impetus or what created my dis-ease, my dysfunction and destruction of my dreams, of my health, of relationships, my career. And that I was given this information that was the key for me to cleaning up what I needed to do in terms of detoxing myself. And that detoxing, I took it at a physical level, the physical body, but it was emotional and mental and spiritual. And that was the connecting thread. And it was my job through meditation that I could clean that up. And so that, when I came back on, I still didn't quite get it. After all this message, I had been in that process of learning about clearing energy. But when my aura and my vision was so strong, I was guided to, this is the funniest part. I was on my way to a health food store one Saturday morning and the high school kids were out doing a car wash. They do car washes like to raise money in certain schools in your area. So
Oh,
there I
sure.
thought, okay, I'll give the kids some money. They can wash my car. And I went in for some coffee. And the coffee shop was dead. And I'm thinking Saturday morning, the coffee shop should be bustling. So I said to them, I don't know where this came from. I said, you know what? I think I can help you out. Would you like me to come and read coffee grounds here? And I could be like the dog and pony show and draw people into your place. This is in Southern California. They had no clue what coffee ground readings were. Anyway, I get in my car and I'm thinking, what in the hell just came through me? Why did I say that? What did I get? They said yes to me. So the voice, like it came through my radio and it said to me, now go to 5 other coffee shops and do the same thing. So I created a plan for myself. I created the schedule. I knocked on all these doors. They all said yes. And I had this schedule for myself hopping around town doing coffee ground readings at different coffee shops. That's how I started. And I would be looking in the coffee grounds and telling people so much about their life. They're like, how in the hell can you see all that in the mud in that bottom of the coffee ground?
That's crazy.
Excellent.
And so they wanted to learn. And I started to teach them. And that's how the book got written. Because I didn't write the book for a couple years later because I just was teaching. Then I realized I need to put this in some sort of semblance or an order for them to have a tangible reference and to anchor the information that I was giving them all the time verbally. But so I sort of worked it backwards. I mean, that's not what the book coaches say, but That's how it happened.
Okay, we need to take our first break. When we come back, you're going to do a little reading for us and talk to us about that first book too, of course, which one launched you out there. Stand by and don't go away, folks.
Yeah, don't go away, folks.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. Police officer Madison Jackson awakes to discover her baby kidnapped from her crib. Was it revenge for someone she arrested or something far more sinister? Madison's estranged husband is incarcerated in Supermax. As the second in command of a deadly Mexican cartel, did he issue the order to abduct their daughter? Bye, Baby, Bye, from author Kelly Marshall. Get your copy today.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. 2 new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
And we're back.
Yes, indeed we are.
What was your first book that you wrote?
Love Up Your Life.
Love Up Your Life was first. And then
Manifesting Miracles 101.
Manifesting Miracles 101. Of course, all of these you can find on Amazon, people. And then next?
Then it was the Spiritual Awakening book. Actually, that book, a lot of the information is in Wake Up, Shift Happens.
Okay, yeah, I like this. I like this.
Yeah.
Wake Up, Shift Happens. I like that. And then Vibe High.
Yeah, coloring book.
Coloring book.
Has anyone told you there's a spelling error on your book cover?
On Shift Happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was one letter too many.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, both happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which book would you like to read from?
I'm going to read from the Manifesting Miracles 101.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
The universe is in constant motion. You're precious, beautiful, and pure. Your life matters so much. You matter so much. Whatever has happened to you that tried to extinguish your light, don't ever believe that they're not a flame. There's not a flame. You are still in there. You are healing, overcoming, and becoming every day. The power to change is within you. Give yourself some grace and give all the grace you can to those around you. Receive this grace too, and always seek out and go where there is peace. The energetic practices you're engaging are shifting your energy. We all have the power within to change as higher vibrations consume and transform lower ones. In his book, The Signs of Getting Rich, author Wallace Wattles talks about the universal law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Simply put, energy from the formless realm is constantly flowing into the material world and taking form. This energy is limitless and it's inexhaustible. As old forms are exhausted, they give way to new forms to merge from the invisible hidden energy of the universe. The energy of the universe is always moving and transmuting in and out of form and is always in the state of emotion. It will take one form and then move to another form, but it's always in motion and never stands still. This law relates to the universe and our consciousness, and through the realization that everything seen and unseen is constantly changing. In Manifesting Miracles 101, you are harnessing this energy and transforming it into whatever form you desire.
Wonderful. Thank you. And that was from Spiritual
Manifesting Miracles.
Oh, Manifesting Miracles. This one. Here, let me put it up there. All right. Excellent.
Perfect.
Yeah. Very well written and probably written in a way that most people can understand.
Very encouraging as well.
Yeah.
Uplifting.
My hope is to inspire and to help us understand what we are, which is energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Which can neither be created nor destroyed, as we know it in physics today. So
it's constantly in motion.
Yes, it's always with us.
And the emotion is what is driving it. So a big part of the work I do is helping others just release the emotions or the energetic interferences and blocks that are not part of who they are. Yeah. And so when we can release that, that's when we step into that flow of manifesting miracles.
Excellent. Very well said. And that sounds like a really excellent book. What about Love Up Your Life? What do you talk about in that book?
Well, you know, I was so frustrated and struggling with how to communicate this fabric of all creation being love when I came back from my NDE. I know that most people are looking for Mr. Wonderful or Miss Wonderful, and they're looking for their next best relationship. And so I thought, well, what can I do to almost trick people into they get what they want, and so, but they get more. They start to understand that the love they think they're looking for isn't the be all and end all. It's that love within themselves and understanding who and what they are. So I've got 10 principles in here. They're 10 steps in order to lure people or encourage people to go down the path of thinking they're after one thing, but it's going to give them so much more. So the tools I teach, again, it's sort of a guidebook on how to not only clear energy through grounding and clearing the center of their head, being able to replenish themselves. They're all steps and processes to, I don't know, attract more of what they want or the love they want in their life. But love translates for me into greater abundance in all things. So it was sort of a trick motivation, but it's a simpler version of the first book I talked about.
Doing paranormal investigations, we really have to understand clearing energy and being grounded.
Well,
right.
and with the idea that every energy is always moving, we can't protect ourselves like some people say, surround yourself with white light. It's impossible. That just is like a pause button. It won't stop anything.
No, you want to tell us a little bit about what's in Spiritual Awakening?
Yeah, I wrote that book because a lot of people were I'm noticing there's a greater number of people awakening and what they're experiencing as ascension symptoms. So I outlined basically things to look for or signs so that you can identify you're in this process of spiritual awakening. And also, again, some tips and some tools on how to navigate it and what's important in terms of, I talk a lot about in my books about what the quantum energy tools, some basic principles to help a person stay more present and alert, but also to not shut down their spiritual abilities that are awakening and, to understand them a little more rather than being frightened of them.
And Vibe High is a coloring book.
Yeah, with positive affirmations and encouragement, inspiration.
An adult book.
What's that?
I said an adult coloring book.
Yeah, but there's positive affirmations on every page and floral designs because I realize that not everybody meditates the same way, and there's times where we just need a tool to calm down and to be inspired. And maybe you're feeling crappy with what's hitting you. So you can pull out the crayons or the pencils. You don't have to be the most creative person, but just choosing a color and zoning into what you're doing can help alleviate and clear some energy blocks. So I just thought, well, it's a fun, creative thing to do to help people get back into that flow. Because when we start feeling better about ourselves and that raises our frequency, then we're going to be more inclined to manifest what's in our heart. So it's, again, a little bit of a trick because I know that once you get into that zone, you'll feel better and you'll just like yourself more and life becomes a little more fun.
I think you're right about the meditation. I think the people have an idea of what meditation is, and then that may be a turnoff to them for what they think meditation is. You know what I mean? And
absolutely. And having experienced many different forms myself, I can say there are thousands of different types of meditations. And I've after learning the techniques and these what I call quantum energy tools, they're a form of meditation. But for instance, grounding, people don't understand the importance of that in their everyday life. Like if you're driving down the road and you miss your exit, have you ever done that? Or you go like, I've driven this path a gazillion times. How could I miss that, right? That's a signal to you that you just left present time. You just were thinking about that trip to Tahiti or the trouble you got at home and you went there. And so our spirit does that, thousands of times a day. And so all the work I do is to help people with tools and techniques to stay more present, because the magic of manifestation happens when we are present and aware in the moment. Eckhart Tolle wrote this famous book, The Power of Now. And that's the principle, the power of being right now, right here. So grounding and clearing the center of our head. In my experience, most meditations take people out of their body, right? That's why we feel so blissed out. We're happy, nothing's bothering us, we float away, we go into other dimensions, we go to other planets, God knows where, right? Mm-hmm. So all of my meditations or tools help you to stay here. When the way I see it clairvoyantly is that the physical body and the spirit want to come together. There's a desire for that union. That's why we came here. We actually manifested a human body, 3D. So our spirit wants to come close to this body, but with all this interference and resistance from drama and trauma and negative beliefs and low vibes of anger and frustration and overwhelm, that keeps the spirit away from the body. And that's why we struggle manifesting, whatever it is we want. And so the idea of clearing these energies brings the spirit closer to the body. It's always a little bit ahead of the physical body. But as we come closer and closer, that's where we heal ourselves. That's where we manifest abundance. That's where we have the joy. That's where the fulfillment lies. And so again, all my tools, all the work is designed to bring the spirit closer to the body so that you can line up. And it's that intersection, that alignment, where the magic happens.
Awesome. We need to take our last little
sponsor break
now. Completely forgot the name.
When we come back,
you left your body.
I'm not sure where
we're going to get off on this exit here in a minute. When we come back,
better ground myself.
We'll have our book giveaway. She's got some books to give away today, and tell you where you can reach her.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So hang in there just a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the R Group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
And we're back. And actually, while we were on commercial break, the UPS truck pulled up out front of our neighbor's house, and our little dog went ballistic at exactly the right time while she was muted.
Perfect timing. Everything's lining up. Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Let me tell you where you can get in touch with Amirah. Her website is www.amirahhall.com. for those of you who are listening and cannot see this on your TV, it is AmirahHall.com. All right. And if you go there, you can find all the different places that you can find her, all of her social media. And her email is Amirah@AmirahHall.com. AmirahAmirahHall. Okay.
Okay.
There's
So-
nothing I like better than spelling that out for all of the listeners.
So we've talked about all your books, and right now we're going to give
We didn't talk about one. Did we talk about?
Well, we showed all the covers,
Okay.
so we'll finish off here with the last one. But the book giveaway, everybody type the first 3 people to email Amirah@AmirahHall.com will win an ebook copy of choice. So one of those wonderful books.
Mm-hmm. Any one of those books.
That's right.
But maybe start at the beginning.
The beginning's good. Ben White.
Right.
Right.
But not to tie anyone into that. Whatever you're led to, whatever you feel like you need to have, definitely go with that.
Right.
Yeah. The last one was Wake Up, Shift Happens. Time for Great Awakening. You want to tell us a little bit about that book?
Well, like I said, I kind of wrapped most of the information into the Essential Book of Spiritual Awakening, and just had more stories in that, and I outline exactly what happened in my near-death experience, what I saw, and so there's more of that concentrated information in that book.
Yeah, let me bring this up. This is also another place where you can go. It's manifestingsystemsecrets.com, which actually will help you understand everything that Amirah is about. It's www.manifestingsystems.com. And that's for all of you who are not watching this on the video.
And that's basically an ebook, and they can access the system of what you need exactly to manifest.
And it's a free ebook?
Absolutely free. My pleasure.
So that's free, and you can also get any one of the other books free also if you will just go to her email and tell her you're watching the show or listening to the show and would like to have a copy of whichever book that it is. So anything new on the drawing board for you?
Yeah, I'm doing live trainings twice a month where you can come, and it's on Zoom. And so I give people an actual experience so they can experience what it's like to release the energies and to be grounded and to understand those basic principles that I talk about. And I'm also doing a live 3-day speaker event next January. So that's a little bit down the road. But every month I offer free workshops. So if people sign up on my newsletter or opt into Manifesting System Secrets, you will be notified.
And when do you do the Zoom teachings?
Well, they vary. Some of them are during the day. So I've got Australian and European clients. So I like to give them a chance to join in.
Right.
And then some of them are evenings because for the North American clients. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I vary it so that the whole tribe can get in on the action.
Yeah. So go to the website and actually sign up for the email so you'll be notified when everything's happening at what time and what day of the week and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
Interesting. How about another book? Do you feel like you have another book?
Well, what I have is a masterclass that you can go to my website and access. And I put together, it's an hour masterclass that gives you the understanding or the principles that I talk about from the laws of the universe and why it is so important to understand the principles that are underlying our abilities not only for our spiritual gifts, but for manifesting everything. Like everything we do in this life is a manifestation of our energy field. So if we aren't happy with what we're experiencing, we get to change it, and we get to be a conscious creator. And when we do that, when we come in alignment, that's when all of our gifts open up. So if people want to develop their sixth sense or their psychic abilities or clairvoyance, that's my specialty. But it starts at the beginning with the chakras and clearing the energy blocks. And so it's all coming together then. But yes, I specialize in working specifically with the clairvoyant abilities.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Is there a reason why you chose that?
Yeah, it's the highest. It's the highest ability, other than the knowingness. But the clairvoyance is something we can control, monitor, change, develop. Whereas that knowingness, it's not a conscious decision, right? It's beyond, there's a part of ourselves that sort of understands it we just know. We don't know how we know, right? Whereas the clairsentience is that clear feeling that many of us have, that gut feeling guys talk about. But then there's the clairaudience, which is when we clearly hear something and channeling and, I don't know. Have you ever said something that you went, wow, that sounds just like my mother? You're channeling your mother's energy when you do that, right? And then there's the clairvoyance, the clear seeing. But when you can hone in on that clairvoyant ability, you can heal yourself and others, and you can change the dynamics and energetics of what? A haunted house, or any beings or poltergeists or jinn. I use that ability to clear situations. If things aren't going my way, I will clear the energy so that I do get my way, or the perfect divine outcome will be the result, where everybody wins, however that looks. And so that's how I use the clairvoyant abilities, not to spy on people or to read minds. That comes with the package. No, I'm kidding. But we use it to improve or change the direction of an outcome that we're desiring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It also makes sense that everything you do has to be in love.
It's the underlying vibration of who we are and everything that exists. Now, for us humans, for me, even having had that NDE, I still struggle with that concept. It's like, it's not a linear human thing. You can feel it at certain times. You can feel really, really good or mushy about something or emotional, but that is not love, but not the love that I stepped into. And so it's beyond our human comprehension to try and, the best way I say it is, if we can get into the flow, when you're vibing right and everything's going well, that's the best, or that athletic feeling when you're in that zone. To me, that's the sweet spot. That's where we want to be in a longer amount of time in our life. Because there's no room for fear or anger there. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to us that when we do paranormal investigations, that people are afraid. And people say, well, I would just be so scared if that happened to me, or I saw that, and we never have been.
Right. Well, you're an exception. But the other thing too is some of my students that have started studying with me, they were petrified of, let's say, talking to their deceased son or a loved one. And as we develop, it's just like, in first grade, you don't know how to do calculus or algebra. No. But you go through the educational system and you learn and you develop a confidence or an understanding. And I think if you have the right tools and perhaps the right mentor that shows you and guides you in a grounded, realistic, practical way. I'm a practical person. Even though I'm woo-woo, I like to say, let's do it in a grounded, safe manner, right? So nobody gets hurt. It's like playing with fire, this stuff, right? You could really get burned.
Well, also it takes experience too. I mean,
the wisdom of experience. Yes,
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
to
so.
navigate. Like I wished I had a teacher. Like years ago when I played with the Ouija board, I stopped because it scared the crap out of me. I mean, and so I think when that fear will shut off any of our spiritual abilities.
Yeah. I think fear shuts off a lot of stuff, but definitely. Anger, same thing. Any emotion, negative emotion like that. That's
I just heard that 66% of the population are on anxiety medications. That shuts down your spiritual ability. That disturbs your sleep, that disturbs your organs and your health in every way. And so it numbs you out. And so with that knowing, how can you expect to be in the flow? You're just being numbed out.
Yeah, so 66%, huh?
It's huge.
That kind of tells you how many people are
struggling.
Yeah, living in that place.
But because we're not taught the basic principles of who we are, and that if we're feeling anxious, could it be that, your jealous girlfriend is making you nervous because her energy's imposing in your energy field? I mean, we're not taught that, but if we could understand that and go, holy shit, let's get her out of here, and then have a tool to move the energy, and then go, wow, hey, I'm feeling great. Let's go shopping, or let's get dressed and go out, or let's take a new class, or let's do something else. But that's what happens is so our light, our frequency starts to go dull and dim and dim and dim. Oh no, I'll stay home. I'll just zone out, I'll just eat a bag of popcorn and, 10 Cokes or a bottle of wine and I'll be fine. So we just continue numbing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And self-medicating.
Hey, I'm all for a good glass of wine. Don't get me wrong. But when it gets to an abusive place, then we're minimizing our light. And if that's not important to you, great, you get to come around again and do it another way, but you have an option.
Right.
Well, thank you very much. We've appreciated this.
This has been great.
Hour went by pretty quickly. I'm looking at our timer counting down as we speak.
There you go. So I want to thank you for joining us, and hopefully everybody will get in there and even if you're listening or watching this a week from now, go ahead and shoot her an email, and there may be extra copies. I bet you there will be.
And there's always the free ebook.
There's always the free ebook on the other
site.
And I've been accused of being too generous, so I'm sure I've got surprises for you.
I'm not sure that's possible, is it?
I can be. But I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for your hospitality and featuring me, and being in this sacred space with both of you means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
I'm going to move you over to the side, so hold on. Don't fall over, and stay with us until we come back to you after all the commercials and all that. And well, that was good.
Yeah.
Right? Want to remind everybody this Saturday, episode rewind right where you're watching this show right now. It's at 5:30 p.m. on Saturdays. Episode rewind this week is going to be, this Saturday should be Joe Conjal on November 25th. And then next Wednesday, November 29th, will be New York Times bestselling author Patricia Crisafulli. And that should be an interesting time as well. Stay tuned here at the end for the instructions on how to get over to the Voice of Indie podcast. It should be on shortly. And anything else you got?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm good.
Until next time, then.
That's all, folks.
See ya.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @Voice of Indie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.